Today, I'm excited to talk about 5 ways you can transform your analytics workflow with large language models. Now, let's think of all the tasks that data teams support today in an organization. They're helping us collect, analyze user experiences. We're supporting ad hoc data requests from around the organization. They come to us with questions and they need answers and they need data. So we need to bring that data together from around the org so that we can understand like what's actually happening, how are our KPIs changing, and then building presentations to kind of communicate those insights and recommendations and so much more. There's a lot of different workflows that data teams are kind of involved in. And today our goal is really how can we apply AI to transform some of these work and free us up as analysts, as data teams, to really focus on those higher value tasks where we actually get to action our data. So the platform that I'm going to be using today is a platform that I developed. It's a research platform called Prototyper.ai that transforms how businesses build, measure, and learn with large language models. In that platform, you get access to the world's best AI models from OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, and Meta. And because this is a analytics presentation, I'm going to be focusing on the AI analytics platform. And I created this really cool Google Analytics API integration where you can start to pull in your data from Google Analytics and start using LLMs to build dashboards and ask questions about certain KPIs and whatnot. And so I'm going to show you how I use LLMs in this platform. And yeah, let's get started. Let's get started and transform our analytics workflow with LLMs. So the first thing that I want to talk about, how we can transform, is building measurement requirements. So the way that I've kind of structured this presentation is as I go through these use cases, I'll define it as kind of like a problem, and then I'll propose an AI analytics solution. And so with building measurement requirements, this is obviously a very manual task. It's time consuming, it's difficult to scale. But what if we actually had like an analytics agent that could help us? So I created an agent, it'll go out, it'll scrape a web page if it's openly accessible, and it'll output a draft of a requirements document. So let's see it in action. All right, so I'm here in Prototyper.ai and I have a prompt here ready to go. And basically I'm going to ask the agent, okay, can you build a Google Analytics requirement for the following URL so that I can measure how people are engaging with this user experience? And so the agent will go to this marketplace that I created and it'll come back and it'll build a measurement requirements document. So here we go. This looks pretty good. So we have an introduction. What's the purpose? What are the marketplace goals? The objectives. Come back with like a target audience of the marketplace is like designers and developers. Here's some proposed KPIs. And here's how you would implement some of these data layer pushes for developers for specific things like search and specific clicks. So like this is an incredible first start. And so I could take this and I could copy it into maybe a Google Doc, and there we are. We have like a first draft that really didn't take too long. Really cool to try and layer in a little bit more data governance into this prompt. So next up, let's talk about how we can use LLMs to help us understand drivers of a KPI, right? So let's imagine you're looking at some data and you see your data is up. It's up by like 94%. And it's a great problem to have, but trying to figure out exactly what's driving this change, there's a lot of manual data exploration that go into this kind of work. So what if we were able to use LLMs to help us synthesize large amounts of data? This is what they're really, really good at doing. So in an ideal kind of world, it would be awesome to have a tool where the user can use the KPI and they're like, whoa, that's kind of neat. 94% up. Let's see what's going on here. And they click on generate AI insights And that model would then go and it would look at some predefined data and then figure out like, okay, well, let's figure out what's driving that up. And it'll provide like a nice little summary. And this is what we think is moving this number higher. I built a data pipeline. This is exactly how the data pipeline works. When you're kind of in Prototyper and you're looking at KPIs and you click on a KPI, you can open it up. And if you have some predefined kind of dimensions that you want to always look at this KPI by, you can hit generate AI insights. It'll fetch those dimensions. It'll pull that data from the GA4 API and then cleans the data. Then we send it to a fine-tuned GPT-4o model and we output some AI insights. So I'm going to show you this in action and let's take a look. Okay, so I'm back here in our analytics workspace. Let's take a look at this KPI, right? So active users are up about 8%. And so when I clicked on that three-dot menu, it just opens up this KPI Explorer tool. And we can kind of just toggle different things here. Like we can look at different metrics by different time frames. And let's take a look at this, right? Like last week. So we're up 15% versus the previous week. And we can come in here. There's this KPI info tab. And here's where we can select maybe just different dimensions that we care about, right? So maybe we care about things like first session or first user source. Maybe we care about device, right? And we can hit generate AI insights. And so what it's going to do is it's going to take this 909 and that 15%, and it's going to try and look at those two dimensions that we just kind of looked at. And here we go. Here's the answer. So last week we recorded 909 active users, represents a 15% increase, which is great. The model is now identifying that Google is a source of growth. That's up 14%, and a couple of other different sources as well. Yeah, so that's a quick and easy way to just get insights into what's driving our KPIs higher or lower. Next up, let's talk about supporting ad hoc requests. Okay, so when we're a data team and we're supporting the organization, we're often fulfilling requests. We get requests from like teams like marketing or product or customer service or sales. And so the data team is often pulling data and it ends up like constraining a lot of our time. And that really reduces the data team's capacity for higher value, proactive kind of analysis. So what if we could build a prompt library of common analytics requests that could be easily searched and fulfilled with maybe one click or via natural language. So I built this, and it's powered by a fine-tuned Google Analytics 4 GPT that I created. And so basically how it works is create all these analytics prompts about your user experience or about any sort of data that you have in Google Analytics. These are simple queries, and you just essentially you can click on them and it'll fetch the data and it'll give you the answer. So I'm gonna show you an example. All right, so I'm in another profile. So this is one of my profiles, and I'm gonna click on this, right? Like I like to look at how my landing page primary CTA that I have at the top is trending over time, right? And so I have that, I can run it really quickly and I can see like how this data is trending. And so over the past 30 days, see that average user conversion rate is 48%, which is pretty good. So you can kind of see the trend here. It's offering some key insights into it. And yeah, I think this is a great little tool for just quickly aggregating all of your kind of common requests into one-click fulfillment. And so instead of having an analyst spend all this time like pulling this data manually, you can use the AI or fine-tuned AI that I developed to help offload some of that work for you. So one of the cool things that I want to show you here is you can save some of these prompts, and you also get to even though this is already kind of pre-saved, you also get to see what the API query is. So for everything that you ask, you get a corresponding query. I want to be fully transparent with the data that I'm sharing through these LLMs. So if something doesn't look right, you can open up this kind of save prompt interface or window or side menu and kind of see exactly what's the actual API query, so you can feel confident about your data. All right, moving on. Let's have some fun now. Let's generate a dashboard with a large language model and then use that LLM to summarize the contents of that data. This is something that I've always wanted to be able to do, and I'm really excited about it. So let's find the problem. Manual dashboard creation and in summarization, these are really time-consuming tasks. They're definitely tasks that need to get done, but really it does like that primary goal of using that data to help us drive action. So what I would rather do is, instead of manually building dashboards and spending time there, I would rather spend time analyzing. I can actually understand what is actually happening with my data so that I can then create actionable recommendations to drive good business outcomes, right? So let's take a look at like a proposed solution. So I trained a fine-tuned analytics agent to build and summarize dashboards using natural language. And so how you build a dashboard is basically, I'm going to walk through this step by step, but you just describe the component that you, so components such as dashboard titles, section titles, scorecards, time series graphs, bar charts, tables, and the metric, right? And so just kind of like describe it in order, and it just starts building it out. And then when you're done, you can open up AI chat and say, hey, can you summarize this dashboard as maybe an email to marketing? And so let's see it in action. Let's try and generate a dashboard and summarize the findings and kind of from there. So I'm going to go back to my dashboards. I'm going to click here to open up a new dashboard. And so now I'm in the dashboard builder, and we could start building and describing the dashboard that we want to build. So we could say something like a dashboard title called app summary and a section title called KPIs. We're going to just ask it to generate that. It generated that really quickly. That's great. And then we'll say something like a scorecard of, say, we'll just do users just for now. And so it's generating that scorecard. And perfect. Here we go. That's the same number. We could say something. Let's create another section underneath. And we could say something. Section title. Top traffic sources. Okay, got that. And let's do one more. We'll say a table, active users, user source. Okay, and so I kind of use camel case because then the model knows a little bit more about what I'm saying, but here we go. Perfect. This is looking really good. So we have a super simple dashboard. I'm not going to just kind of go into all the nitty-gritty here, but you can kind of look at it as a desktop kind of view. And so, yeah, so we have something here. Let's open up the model here, and we'll just ask Gemini. We'll say, hey, Gemini, can you please summarize this dashboard as an email to marketing? And so here we go. It's going to do that. Perfect. And so it comes back with the email. And so imagine like just building a dashboard, and as like a data team member, you're sending out these updates. And so now you can kind of like have the model analyze some of this data and then give you a nice little summary of like what's happening, and we can kind of see exactly how things are kind of changing. So really cool to kind of see this. This is just like a first draft. You could kind of go and you could tweak it however you kind of wanted. But this is really cool. So that's generating a dashboard and summarizing it with Gemini. Okay, moving on. All right, number 5. We're on the home stretch here. So let's talk about how we can bridge the gap between content, data, and experimentation. All right, so let's define this problem, right? So when data, content, and experiment design live in separate tools and workflows, collaboration suffers. Insights get diluted, and the cycle from learning to action slows to a crawl, right? So we have teams that work in content, we have data teams, we have growth teams. They're all kind of working on similar kind of problems. And what I love about LLMs is that we can start to bring all of that information together, right? So we can provide a common chat interface to accelerate time to insights and action. So we want to bridge that gap between content, user experience, data, and experiments, right? And you as the human in the loop have access to all this stuff in prototyper.ai. So let's see this in action. So I'm going to show you some data about my onboarding flow. And I'm going to put some data around the percentage of people that are skipping onboarding, right? So we can see based off of the last 30 days, about 40% of people are skipping onboarding. And I'm not sure what I exactly think about that, but it kind of feels a little bit high. But I do actually have a pretty prominent call to action to just kind of skip onboarding and just jump right into your workspace, and then just explore on your own. So we pulled the data. Now let's actually add some content. So I took a screenshot of the onboarding experience. Oh, there it is. Okay, and I have a question that I want to ask. So I say, let's just add this. Okay, so here's a screenshot of my onboarding flow. About the 40% who choose to skip it are actually clicking on this link here. And I actually wanted to provide people a way to jump into the workspace, but I would rather that people kind of click on this, right? So what are some ways that I can reduce the skip rate and get more people trying out the flow? I think that the image for this validation flow may be a bit, but I'm just wondering what are some things that I could test. And here we go. So I have the model. It's kind of analyzed the user experience, come up with some analysis, AI workspace card. So this is really interesting. Visual hierarchy. Here's some ideas that we could test. Headline, idea validation, image test. So let's just kind of focus on this because there's a lot. And so we could focus on the results, replace the current image. Okay, this could be a mock-up of the data dashboard, a graph showing positive user feedback. Okay, simpler, more professional image. Use a less cartoonish. Yes, that's what I was thinking. Okay, so I'm going to then say, this is all really great information. Can you please create a test plan for the hypothesis changing the product validation flow image will increase the number of users entering that flow and reduce the percentage of users skipping the flow by, say, 10%. Okay. And so we're going to get the model to generate a plan based off of all this data that we've just kind of done. And it's put together a first draft of the test plan. It's come up with a new hypothesis, which is great. And we can kind of click in here and we can actually see the document. So Prototyper allows you to like create all these test plan which I'm really excited about. So things that you want to A/B test and whatnot. So you have like this library of learnings. And so here's the document that I created for this A/B test that I would like to run sometime in the future. We can have your experiment design. We can put in our variations, link to data, and have next steps. So that's the demo. I'm going to kind of stop here. I want to thank you for watching. These are the 5 ways that I'm using LLMs to help transform my workflow. So I really hope you found this valuable. If you would like to try out this new analytics platform, I'll drop a link in the description below. So thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Go out there, start exploring how to use LLMs in your analytics workflow. and just start bringing together all your data. And yeah, so this has been a really great, fun presentation. So I'm so happy that you made it this far. If you have any comments, feel free to drop a comment in the description below, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that I have. So thanks so much for your time. Have a wonderful day. Cheers.